Cooperative History. A very, very brief introduction. So what exactly is a co-op? The International Cooperative Council defines a cooperative as an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise, which is a fancy way of saying people with a shared interest coming together to meet their needs. Cooperatives in the U.S. and in other countries follow the Rochdale Principles of Cooperation, or the Seven Cooperative Principles. The Rochdale Society of Equitable Pioneers was a consumer co-op formed in Rochdale, England in 1844, as a response to a rise in unemployment due to mechanization during the Industrial Revolution. The Rochdale Society of Equitable Pioneers created the Seven Principles to guide how cooperative organizations treat their members and interact with the broader community. In 1937, the International Cooperative Council revised the Seven Principles, and they are now used throughout the world. The seven cooperative principles are as follows. 1. Voluntary and open membership. 2. Democratic member control. 3. Member economic participation. 4. Autonomy and independence. 5. Education, training, and information. 6. Cooperation among cooperatives, for example, SCHA working alongside other co-ops with NASCO, or the North American Students of Cooperation. And 7. Concern for community. The goal of a cooperative is to work to liberate and empower its members, always including the liberation and empowerment of all marginalized members of society. There are so many types of co-ops serving so many kinds of people and meeting so many different needs. Most co-ops offer an alternative economic model like a food co-op or a credit union, while others offer a more sustainable way to distribute labor. Some examples of co-ops include worker co-ops, consumer co-ops, housing co-ops, credit unions, childcare co-ops, and many, many more. In the United States, student housing co-ops started popping up during the Great Depression as a way for people to survive and get by with as little as possible. They soon died out though as people left to fight in World War II. They also shrunk during this period because of the Second Red Scare as people feared political repression for being communists or anarchists. By the 60s and 70s, housing co-ops were revived due to the baby boomers' housing shortage and an increase in leftist student activism. During this time, housing cooperatives in Davis began to form. Cooperatives continue to be sites of alternative living and a more accessible housing option, given that market rate housing costs bar many from accessing housing. Pause and discuss. How would you define a co-op? How are the definitions that have been discussed similar or different than the ICC definition that we were given? How can SCHA and our individual houses do better to uphold our definition of a co-op and the values that we all share? Who writes co-op history? Because white supremacy is present within co-op organizations, just as in the wider world, BIPOC cooperative histories are often not recognized. Co-ops are often seen as a white thing, which is a misconception with very real consequences. We can see how anti-blackness continues to persist in many co-op organizations given how black cooperative contributions are erased. Jessica Gordon-Nembard, author of Collective Courage, speaks on the success of black co-ops and mutual aid societies from the 1800s to now. Large booms in cooperative organizing in the post-Reconstruction, Great Depression, and Civil Rights eras occurred to meet material needs in communities throughout the U.S. while also reducing harm done within existing systems. Many of these cooperatives use solidarity economies, which are economies built to help people survive and meet their needs within current systems in non-exploitative ways. A few examples. Freedom Quilting Bee started as black women sharecroppers making quilts to sell in the North to support their families and ultimately get out of sharecropping during the post-Reconstruction era. The Freedom Quilting Bee continued for many years and went on to help found the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, which still exists today. Freedom Farm Cooperative was founded by civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer in 1969. Freedom Farm Co-op members planted cash crops like soy to sell and share the profits among those who worked the land. They also then expanded to have a pig bank, or a group of breeding pigs to feed thousands of families. Cooperative Jackson, which exists today, is a network of cooperatives that formed a solidarity economy in Jackson, Mississippi. This worker-owned and organized cooperative aims to empower and organize under- and unemployed working-class people, namely Black and Latinx communities. Moving away from cutthroat competition to a model of equity and cooperation, Cooperation Jackson can build community wealth while divesting from harmful systems. Black cooperatives continue to exist in resistance to anti-Blackness and white supremacy inherent in American capitalism, despite intentional erasure of their history. It is imperative to interrogate how the popular image of co-ops in media messaging continues to erase Black cooperative history and alienate BIPOC from entering cooperative spaces. We must continually interrogate how our own behavior reflects this notion and work to do justice to all those who have cooperated before us. Reflect and discuss. What is something new you learned? Whose history is erased and who gets to dominate the narrative of cooperative life? How will you bring what you learned into the new co-op year?